Hey y'all, it's me, Kevvie. Since I'm fairly new to Booktube, I figured I should do the Newbie Booktube tag. However, looking through the questions, I wasn't really interested in answering most of them. Just didn't seem like an interesting video to me. So I'm gonna do my own thing for this tag. I'm going to share with you 10 books that represent my growth and development as a reader, so you can see the progression of where I started to how I got where I am today. No one else in my friend group really reads the same kind of books that I do. So I'm hoping that through Booktube, I'll be able to find more like-minded people who have similar book tastes that I can discuss my favorite books with. The first book I remember being super into was in elementary school. Somewhere between 1st and 5th grade, I honestly couldn't be more specific than that. Every week, our class would go to the school's library and we'd get to check out one book. And one day, I picked up Ice Cream by Jules Older, illustrated by Lynn Severance. I loved this book so much. Every week after that, when we returned to the library, I wouldn't even bother looking at other books. I would just go right up to the counter and renew the Ice Cream book. This book was so cool, and I learned a lot of things from it, like Baked Alaska, and that Maine has lobster ice cream. Literally spent months just reading this book over and over and carrying it with me everywhere in my backpack. I'm surprised I developed such a love for reading, because I always struggled with it in school. I read really slowly. Reading homework would take me forever, and would often go unfinished because I simply ran out of time. Despite this, there would be an occasional book or series that caught my interest, and I didn't mind spending my free time slowly reading through it. The first of these books was Ender's Game. We read it in middle school, and I got so pulled into the world that they created. I loved this book so much that I wound up reading 4 or maybe even 5 other books in the series. Also in middle school, I became obsessed with the musical Wicked. I had all the Wicked merch. I went to see the show so many times. And of course, as such a die-hard Wicked fan, I had to read the book. Oh, I was fascinated by it. It was probably a little more mature than I should have been reading, and I'm kind of curious to see what it would be like now as an adult trying to reread it. I'm sure a lot of things that happened went way over my head. I loved it nonetheless, and went on to read the sequel, Son of a Witch, plus several other Gregory Maguire books. My favorite that I remember was Lost. That horrifying scene with the cat still lingers in my head. In high school, most reading felt like a chore. One exception, though, was Sula by Toni Morrison. Damn, I loved this book. I was fascinated by the magical realism elements in it, and I loved that it centered a Black woman's perspective, because unfortunately we didn't read much of that in my school. Toni Morrison quickly became one of my favorite authors, and I've since read 5 or 6 of her other books, with several more on my TBR. Honorable mention for middle school would be Andromeda Strain. We read that in class and I really enjoyed it. And honorable mentions for high school would be Elsewhere by Gabrielle Zevin, and A Mango-Shaped Space by Wendy Mass. I read both of these books as part of the annual summer reading requirement. Now at this point we've finished covering the books I read as a child, and we're moving on to me as an adult reader. The first book I want to address is Hunger by Roxane Gay. This book changed my life as a fat activist. So many things that I had experienced but never been able to articulate, she managed to put into words so clearly and succinctly. It finally made me able to advocate for myself and express my feelings as a fat person in a fat-phobic society. If you're fat, this is a great read as #relatable content. And if you're thin, this book can help give you a better understanding of what it means to be fat in America. In college, I fell in love with drag, and shortly after, I fell in love with drag history, and I've devoted my academic career to studying drag history in order to make it more accessible for a wider audience. One of my favorite drag history books is Jim Flint, The Boy from Peoria. Despite the title, it isn't just about one man, but includes biographies of dozens of legendary Chicago performers from the 60s to the present. If you're interested in hearing more about this and other drag history books, I've got a video on the subject. The link will be up in that thing wherever that is, or down in the description below. In grad school, I took a course on Black feminism. It's easily my favorite course I've ever taken. Regular mainstream feminism is often quite shit. It's superficial and almost exclusively caters to white women. Black feminism emphasizes the importance of intersectionality, that if you're advocating for women, you must also be advocating for Black issues because Black women exist. Or you need to advocate for queer issues because there are queer women, and there are some issues exclusive to Black women or queer women or disabled women and so on. All of these systemic issues are feminist issues because there are women affected by all of them. If you're going to be advocating for women, you must advocate for all women. So Black feminism advocates for intersectional issues while keeping the voices of Black women in the front. This class was really important to me and shaped my views moving forward. One of my favorite Black feminist books is Eloquent Rage by Brittany Cooper. It's all about the injustice that she and others experience as Black women. I learned so much reading this book, and I highly recommend it to open your mind up to issues you may not have considered. Finally, we're getting into my more recent reading history. I don't drive, so when I need to get somewhere, I rely on public transportation, at least back in the before times. So while I'm on the bus or the Blue Line, I love to spend that time reading. I've always been into murder mysteries and whodunits, but I didn't try reading that genre until late 2019. Oh boy, did I get hooked. I have read murder mysteries almost exclusively since then. In the before times, the greatest murder mystery I read was The Great Mistake by Mary Roberts Reinhardt, known as the American Agatha Christie. I have a whole video dedicated to her work. I'll have that linked as well. And after everything shut down and I wasn't commuting everywhere, I didn't really read all that much. Then last October, I got a seasonal job at the Body Shop. I absolutely loved working there, and if you'd like to see videos where I discuss ethical skincare or those sorts of things too, let me know. But having a new in-person job gave me the opportunity to start reading on my commute again. The first book I picked up for my commute was The Pale Horse. Odd place to start Christie, right? Well, the Amazon adaptation had just come out earlier that year, and I decided for once, why not read the book before seeing the adaptation? Big mistake. The series was not loyal to the book at all, so I ended up hating it. But I really enjoyed reading the book. I was hooked, and I've been reading Agatha Christie almost nonstop ever since. My favorite Christie I've read is Witness for the Prosecution. Even though I'd seen the movie beforehand, I was still captivated by the story and elated by the twist ending. I'll link my first Agatha Christie video for y'all as well. So there you have my evolution as a reader. Let me know if you've read any of these books, or tell me about what books were important to your growth as a reader. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if it pleases and sparkles, I'll see you in the next video. Mwah!